August 11, 1987, Miami Beach. Michael Santos wakes up in his penthouse apartment. At 23, he's living every young man's fantasy. The Porsche in the garage, the Rolex on his wrist, money flowing in faster than he can count it. $4 million. That's how much cocaine his organization has moved through the streets of America. 150 kilograms of pure Colombian product distributed with the precision of a Fortune 500 company. But Michael doesn't know that federal agents have been watching him for months, building a case, documenting every transaction, every meeting, every mistake. He doesn't know that in 6 hours his bedroom door will explode inward, that armed agents will flood his sanctuary, that his empire will crumble in the time it takes to read him his rights. He doesn't know that a federal judge will soon look him in the eye and sentence him to 45 years in prison. 45 years. At 23, that might as well be forever. Most men would break under that weight. Most would surrender to despair, rage, or revenge. Michael Santos chose a different path, a path that would transform him from federal prisoner 16,377-004 into one of America's most respected voices for prison reform. This is that story. Before the penthouse and the Porsche, before the federal agents and the 45-year sentence, Michael Gerard Santos was just another kid from Lake Forest Park, Washington. A quiet suburb where the American dream wrapped itself in evergreen trees and two-car garages. Born January 15, 1964, to a Cuban immigrant father who had fled Castro's revolution and a mother of Spanish descent, Michael grew up in a household that understood both struggle and opportunity. His father built a successful highway construction business through sweat and determination, the kind of bootstrap success story America celebrates. At Shorecrest High School, Michael blended into the background. Average grades that reflected average effort, average athletics that showcased average talent. After graduating in 1982, Michael followed the expected path. He joined the family construction business, working alongside his father, learning the trade that had provided their comfortable middle-class life. Honest work, clean money, a clear trajectory towards suburban stability. But Michael Santos had a hunger that suburban Seattle couldn't satisfy, not for fame or love or even acceptance, for something much more intoxicating: money. Real money, power, respect. The kind of respect that comes from controlling something others desperately want. While his high school classmates were settling into entry-level jobs or college dorms, Michael was feeding his ambition with cinema. Scarface played on repeat in his bedroom. Miami Vice painted pictures of a life where money flowed like water and danger felt like excitement. The construction business would continue without him. Seattle had given him everything it could offer. But Miami? Miami had possibilities. By 1986, Michael had made his move to Miami Beach. The transition from Seattle construction worker to Miami cocaine dealer wasn't gradual. It was deliberate, calculated, and surprisingly swift. While his former classmates were filing their first tax returns and learning office politics, Michael was navigating a completely different corporate structure, one where performance reviews came from Colombian suppliers and hostile takeovers involved actual hostility. The cocaine trade in the 1980s in Miami was booming. The Medellin cartel was pumping product into South Florida faster than law enforcement could intercept it. Supply chains were established. Distribution networks were hungry for reliable partners. And Michael Santos, with his clean background and business acumen learned from his father's construction company, fit the profile perfectly. Within months, he wasn't just buying cocaine, he was buying it by the kilogram. Not the ounce bags sold on street corners or the gram packages that supplied local dealers. The money came fast, faster than Michael had ever imagined possible. Those profits multiplied quickly. 1 kilogram became 5, 5 became 10, 10 became 50. By age 23, Michael was living the fantasy that had played in his head back in Seattle. The penthouse apartment with ocean views wasn't just something he'd seen in movies. It was his address. By the time federal agents started paying attention, Michael's network had distributed approximately 150 kilograms of pure Colombian cocaine. On the street, that represented roughly $4 million in retail value. Not bad for a kid who'd been laying asphalt 2 years earlier. The Drug Enforcement Administration had been building their case against Michael Santos and his associates for months. Phone taps, surveillance, informants, financial records. They weren't rushing to make arrests. They were building an airtight prosecution. August 11, 1987. The morning that changed everything. The Golden Boy's world didn't just crack, it completely shattered. But the arrest was just the beginning. What happened next in federal court would determine whether Michael spent a few years in prison or most of his life. He provided information, accepted responsibility, and received a sentence of 4 years. He would serve 27 months. Michael chose a different strategy. He maintained his innocence, denied involvement, rolled the dice with a federal jury. It was a calculated gamble with astronomical stakes. He lost, not just the trial, everything. The jury wasn't buying his denials. The evidence was overwhelming. When the judge delivered the sentence, the words hit like physical blows. 45 years, not months, not a handful of years. 45 years in federal prison. At 23 years old, Michael Santos had just been handed what amounted to a life sentence with a mathematical possibility of eventual release. If he served the full term, he would be 68 when he walked free. Most men faced with 45 years would crumble under the weight of that reality. Most would surrender to despair, rage at the system, or plot revenge against those who put them there. Most would spend their days counting time, letting bitterness consume whatever hope remained. Michael Santos was not most men. Prison life. Inside his prison cell in 1987, surrounded by concrete walls and steel bars, Michael found a book that would alter the trajectory of his life. The Treasury of Philosophy. This is where he was introduced to Socrates, and something clicked. Standing before the judge at sentencing, Michael made a promise that would define the next 26 years. While inmates around him lifted weights or started fights, Michael hit the books. He enrolled in college courses through correspondence, studying by candlelight when the lights went out, writing essays on scraps of paper, fighting for every credit hour. By 1992, he had earned his bachelor's degree from Mercer University. Since he couldn't attend graduation, they brought graduation to him, cap and gown in a maximum security facility, academic achievement behind razor wire. Professors walked past armed guards to hand him his diploma. Michael served as a jailhouse lawyer, helping other inmates navigate the system, building respect through service, not violence. He strategically minimized contact with the general prison population to avoid violence, making calculated choices about every interaction. Every connection served a purpose, preparation for the world outside. But the cruel irony was inescapable. The longer he stayed in, the more the outside world changed. Technology, culture, everything evolving while he remained frozen in concrete and steel. 26 years. That's what it took. 26 years of discipline, of growth, of refusing to let prison break him. After prison, August 2012. Halfway house, Seattle. After 26 years behind bars, Michael Santos walked into a world he barely recognized. Smartphones everywhere, social media, digital everything. He completed his sentence and returned to society on August 12, 2013. But something remarkable had happened during those decades inside. He wasn't broken. He wasn't bitter. He was ready. All those years of preparation paid off immediately. Today, Michael Santos doesn't just tell his story, he rewrites endings for others. While serving his 45-year sentence, he made a commitment to work toward improving outcomes for all justice-impacted people. He kept that promise. Every speech, every book, every consultation, all driven by one unshakable belief. Your past doesn't define your future. Your choices do. Michael has served time in 19 different federal prisons of every security level. He experienced the full spectrum of the American correctional system. He could have emerged broken, bitter, ready for revenge. Instead, he emerged with degrees, published works, a network of mentors, and a mission. The system tried to warehouse him, but he transformed it into a classroom. They gave him 45 years to waste. He used every day to build. Thank you for watching, guys. Michael Santos proved that transformation is possible even in the darkest places. If you believe in second chances, help us spread this story.